Hey everybody, this is Kayla Means with Kayla Means Photography, coming back to you with a new tutorial. If I could just talk this morning, come on. Just kidding. So, recently I've been kind of changing up my work just a little bit, and I've been going more towards film style. And so I just kind of wanted to give you guys a tutorial on an engagement session that I just shot last week, and I've been getting quite a lot of feedback from it. So, just kind of want to give you guys a little tutorial on how I did it and, shooting natural light and everything like that. And so I'll have you guys follow along and go ahead and leave comments down below if you have any questions, and we'll go ahead and get started. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up into Lightroom, and I'm going to kind of give you kind of the backstory and a little bit of the preparation and all that stuff. So this is a couple that came, sorry, she actually came and found me on Instagram. She doesn't have a Facebook, and that was probably one of my first bookings through Instagram. And she told me she really liked my style and that she would love to communicate about, doing engagement shoots. So it's October here in Idaho, and meaning that Idaho can't make up its mind with its seasons. So we were kind of dealing with some cold, some rainy, and it's really hard to kind of gauge what type of seasons you're going to get when you're, living in Idaho, because we literally can have every season: winter, fall, spring, summer in one day. So especially when we're moving into the fall, it's really hard to kind of gauge what kind of weather we're going to be getting. So it was a little bit chilly, not too bad. It was windy, cloudy. The next couple days, a rainstorm moved in, but luckily for that night, we did have some clouds to work with, and I love working when I've got clouds in the background because it makes for a beautiful, beautiful sunset. So we just decided to go to a place called Jump Creek, and that's just kind of towards the border of Oregon, down near, I guess, I don't want to be too far. I'm not sure how far we are away from Nevada. Anyway, we're pretty close to the Oregon border at this point. And so if you can look towards the left behind the couple, that between the canyons is Jump Creek. And in there is this beautiful waterfall. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I knew for sunset, I really wanted like an epic, scenic type of emotional photo. So I thought this would be perfect. And prior to us coming here, I had actually found this little rock outcropping when I came with my husband, because we were doing some, what would be the word? Some scouting of stuff. And if you can see, I'm going to take my mouse, and I don't know if you can see, it has a little magnifier. But we drove down the road this way, and back here you can actually park, and you can walk up the mountain this way, and back here is where the waterfall is. So you can come up over the mountain and back and see where the waterfall drains. Can't really see it from over here because it's kind of it's too dark and you just can't see it from where we're standing. But you could see where the waterfall was. So that was kind of what we wanted to do, but unfortunately we don't want to walk up that steep hill. So she wanted something with more of an epic background, and so I thought that would be perfect. And so when I was shooting, I wanted to shoot with my 85, but I noticed that I had just bought my 85 sometime in August, and I noticed that I have a glass imperfection. There's actually a fuzz inside of the glass. So I'm not sure, and it was showing up on a lot of, I didn't notice it until, before we're going to start shooting. So I opted for my 35, and I'm so glad I did, because it got me the most beautiful candids, the most beautiful film-looking type images, and I'm so glad I did. And I had to have a 35 to capture this beautiful landscape as well. So shot with my 35, my Sigma Art 1.4, and sometimes with that lens it can be a little bit soft in some of the images, but for the most part it turned out great. And I was shooting at 2.2. I really wanted to get them in the back, I really wanted to get them both in focus, but have that background still kind of have that beautiful bokeh. And with the 35, it's not as epic as like the 70 to 200 at 200 millimeters 2.8. But you still, this is why I like the 35, because I want the background. I want all of this not as in focus, but I want this to, you know, frame our subject and stuff like that. So this is what I started off with, and I knew when I looked at this photo, I loved it, but, and this is actually what I came up with when I saw it, and I actually had just done a Facebook Live, so this isn't like the actual photo I ended up with. This is one I did for Facebook Live. I knew that I had wanted something more epic. When I saw them, I was like, okay, that looks great, but I want something that something's missing. And I felt like there was something missing on this side. Even though we could do like the rule of thirds and, you know, the way that they're standing, it would probably work. And I don't know. I felt like something was missing. So what I ended up with was this. And this is what I'm going to show you what I did and how I accomplished that. So, disregard this over here on the left-hand side. I did take it into Photoshop and content aware this, and it worked perfectly. But for the most part, I want to get the gist of Lightroom, because a lot of people understand Lightroom, especially people who are beginners. Photoshop is great, and I'll probably do a tutorial in Photoshop coming up here pretty soon. I don't have, well, no, I have presets for, or have the ACR presets that I can use, the Adobe Camera Raw. So, but right now this one is focused on Lightroom. All right. So, like I said, this is the photo. Sorry guys, I'm moving around just a little bit. This is the photo I started off with. Okay, here are my settings. 35, 2.2, ISO 400. And like I said, I knew that I had wanted to get something epic. So the first thing that I did was I actually took this to Photoshop and I tried to do the content aware. Well, that did not work out. If you've ever tried content aware, it's kind of, it's a little, I don't want to say it's difficult to use. In some cases, it's difficult. In this case, that was the case. There's too much detail over here that's going on. And so I thought, maybe if I extend it and I crop and, you know, if it's, what I ended up with was not how I wanted it. So fortunately for me, I was looking through my photos and I had realized I had taken an image of him here and an image of him here in the same exact pose. Literally all I did was snap it here, snap it right there. And I thought, perfect. That's so perfect. The only thing I wish I would have done was add a little more right here, but you know what? I was like, that's perfect. So Lightroom has a really cool tool called Photo Merge, which is great because I've used this for weddings. When I want to get a huge shot, I usually do it when I want to photograph the venue. I'll take a picture, I'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many pictures I want in a row, knowing that I can bring it back to Photoshop, or excuse me, I can bring it back to Lightroom and make a panorama. So I thought, perfect, that's what I want. I've got 2 photos that work perfect. I can put them together, that gives me that epic landscape, and I don't have to worry about patching or cloning or anything like that. So what I did was, you take your image that you want, and then I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to command click. I think on a PC it would be shift click, shift and click, yeah, something like that. Whatever you can use to click this image while this one is also selected. Okay, so I select those 2 images. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go up to Photo, and you're going to go to Photo Merge. And so I have the Adobe Lightroom CC right here, as you can tell. Oops. Adobe Lightroom CC. So if you're a new photographer and you're thinking, oh, should I invest in Lightroom? What if I don't like Lightroom? Then I'm at $120 or however much it is. Or what if I get Photoshop and I just don't understand it or don't like it? Well, you can do what's called the Adobe the Adobe CC plan, and that gives you Lightroom, and it gives you Photoshop, and it gives you Bridge, and then a couple of other things that you can use. You pay $9.99 a month. Sometimes you can get discounts on it. I think if you're a student, you can, or they're always running deals. So if I were you, and I've been doing this for the last 2 years, I've been having the Adobe CC as my plan, and literally it's been the best thing. I always get updates. I never have to worry about running an outdated Lightroom. I'm always getting like the new things. And if you think about it, if you're paying $10 a month, 12 months, that's $120 a month. $120 a year. But if you think about it, you're getting Lightroom and Photoshop, and you're constantly getting updates. So you don't have to keep buying the new version of Lightroom or Photoshop. Keep in mind, though, if you don't pay for it, then it shuts off your service. I've never had that happen because I've always paid for it, but just keep that in mind. And you can use it as a business expense because it's part of your business. So that's kind of a little background. Anyway, so since I have the Lightroom CC, I don't know if it comes with the regular Lightroom 6, if you were just to buy the Lightroom, but I have the CC. So back to where we were. So I'm going to go to where it says Photo Merge up in the photo collection, and we're going to go to Panorama, okay? So if I had more photos selected, it would take all those photos that I had selected and put them all together. Now, keep in mind, sometimes you have to do a little bit of tweaking, but for the most part, if you can get the photo, if you take one after the other, and keep your couple posed properly, keep everybody from moving, you pretty much don't have to worry about editing certain things. You know what I mean? So if they were moved, like if she had just moved her hair and all that stuff, I probably would have had some like motion blur or something weird happening. But for the most part, look at what it's done. It's taken those images that I've taken and it's made them, it's almost like it never even happened. I mean, of course you have the little white lines, but you know, it's perfect. So you've got three selections. So perspective is more, I want to say it's more of like a 3D effect. The only thing I don't like, and especially with this photo, is I wanted the couple to be out. I wanted them to be the focus of attention, the center of attention. And with this, they're kind of sunken back in, and you'll see once I go through the other ones. So just keep in mind they're kind of sunk back in, but like it looks cool because the mountain's coming out. It's more of a 3D. And so the next one is Cylindrical. And I didn't really like this one at all. I felt like it just made everything look like a ball, I don't know, it was I don't even know how to describe it. It just pushed them out too much. But what I did go for was Spherical. And honestly, there's not too much of a difference other than that this one is making them kind of, everything's getting stretched out from top to bottom. And with the Spherical, it's more kept in the perspective. So this one I chose because I like that they're the center of attention and the mountains didn't look weird. So if I go from Spherical to perspective, you see how they get sunken back in there, and that's not what I like. So then you choose what you want, and so then you hit merge. Keep in mind, if you have more than, I want to say, 2 to 3 images, it's going to take a little bit. It really does, because it does such a great job lining everything up and keeping everything as perfect as it can. It does take a little bit. Sometimes it won't work the first time. I've had that happen before, and I've had to redo it. So keep in mind, just be patient and do that. I'm not going to hit that because I know it's going to take forever. But this is what it came up with. Okay? So remember, we went from this image, okay, to this image, and it made that image. Okay? So I'm like, perfect. This is what I want. This is absolutely perfect. Now, I could have taken it into Photoshop from here and expanded all this, but I didn't want to. I wanted almost like a true panorama, to have it very, very shallow and wide. That's how I wanted it. So right here, I'm just gonna crop down these, trying to keep them in the center as much as I possibly can. Remember when I showed you guys the finished one and I told you I had to take it into Lightroom, and that's kind of what that is. So trying to keep them in the center as possible. I mean, it may not always be possible, but now here, now I'm cutting out the sky. I also want to be careful I don't cut that out as much. And it's hard to tell right now because it's light, but I think it goes down in here. Okay. So, like that. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to like color correct and tone my image to how I want the feeling of the whole set to go. So like I said, I've been kind of delving into more of like a film type look, and if you look back on my other work, I was never like a film type looking shooter, you know what I mean? I loved I love shooting at 70 to 200 with 200 millimeter with the 2.8 and the blown out background. Like that is what I loved, with more of like warm tones. And my style has definitely progressed over the last year or two, and I'm loving my work more and more and more. So I think I finally have found a place where I'm happy with the style that I'm shooting with, and I'm happy with the editing I'm producing. And I found, you always kind of, when you first start photography, you always try everything, you know what I mean? And it does take a little bit to kind of find out where you live in your little niche. And I think I've finally found a place where I'm comfortable and really enjoy, and then still have an audience that enjoys that type of thing. Here in Idaho, there are a lot of people that shoot quote unquote film. Some people actually do shoot film, and some people like I do who don't shoot film but edit with film like presets. And like I said before on my Facebook Live, I don't think anybody is any less of a photographer if they if they edit with a preset or an action. Honestly, I think that's BS. And if somebody tells you otherwise, tell them they're wrong, because I think that's absolute BS. Just because you shoot with the preset does not make you any less of a photographer. You shot the image, you put the image together, you got the client, okay? That's half of it, The next half is editing, and editing is your style. So don't let anybody ever tell you that your style is wrong or how you do it is wrong. Presets are just a way that you can enhance your workflow and make it really quick, and it's just a way that you keep everything together. So for example, with my presets, what I'll do, and I've recently loved if you go to like Visco or Tribe Archipelago, I know I'm going to butcher that and I'm sorry. You can find these really great presets. I know Ben Sasso has some great ones. I think they're called the Hell Yeah ones. I kind of want to buy them, but holding on. So if you go to KLN, which is the Kevin Klein, I absolutely love those. I've got Visco Pack 6, which I absolutely love. And then I've recently just discovered the LXC. And that one I have noticed has been very, very, very popular among film photographers. So, hold on just a second, guys. Sorry about that. My dog was dreaming and I heard her and I was like, oh no. So, and I'm not editing any of this out, so this is real deal, Kayla means. So, back to where I was. Anyway, so I've discovered I really like the LXC. So guys, what I usually do is I will put a preset on an image and then I will tweak it. There has never been a point in time where I've ever put a preset on my image and left it as it is. I don't think I've ever done that. I've always tweaked the white balance. I've always tweaked the exposure. I've always tweaked the highlights. I've always tweaked the saturation. And another thing is, with the LXC, you start to notice that the skin tones get really orange and the greens get really desaturated. So you just have to keep in mind, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't like really orange skin tones. That's just not me. Other photographers can pull it off, but I can't. When I edit, I have to bring down that orange. So Yeah, and then usually when I do that, if I put a preset on, so let's do, I want to say I did LX4 on this one. Maybe not. Trying to figure out what I did on this one. All I know is I saved it. So maybe I did KLN. Maybe. And here's the thing, guys. You just kind of have, it almost like declares itself. You know what I mean? It's almost like you have to go through it and it'll be like, yep, this is the one. Yep, that's the one. Nope, that's definitely not the one. I think I did LX4. I want to say LX4. So we'll go with that. So, what I'll do is then I'll like go through and I'll be like, okay, I don't really care for the exposure. This needs to be a little more warm. I kind of want the shadows. The skin tone's a little too orange, so I'm going to bump that down, and so on and so forth. I'll just go through and I will tweak it. And then what I'll do is if I'm happy with this and I want all the photos to look the same, I do two things. I go up to where it says develop and I hit new preset, and then I type in Lightroom, or I guess I can put engagement preset, okay? And I'm like, okay, that looks good. I like everything. I don't like the grain, which I need to remember to take off. But so take off the grain, okay? So pretty much everything that I wanted is in my own little preset. Cool. And you can do that for anything. You don't even need to have a preset. If you are beginning to photography and you're like, okay, I like things warmer, so I make everything warm, and then make your own presets, and then you'll always have them over here. And if you don't like it, you can delete it, or you can export it and send it to a friend. The possibilities are endless. Also, if you're going through and you start to kind of tweak it a little bit more, say you go over here and you apply this preset and you're like, oh, I like it, but I kind of wish that there was more contrast. So you build up the contrast, and not that much, but you build up that. And you're like, okay, I actually really like how that looks. I want that all for everything. You can go in and you can say, okay, I'm going to update with current settings. And then it just updates your new preset. Keep in mind, don't do it if you don't want to update it, but that's kind of how that goes. So, and then what you can do now is you can say, okay, I've culled through all my images and I want all my images to have the same look and same feel. So then what you can do is I'm going to hit Command, and you can go and click through all your images and you can sync them. And what that does is it takes all the images that you want to have that same preset, same everything. I would not recommend it if you're going from a dark to light situation, because you're going to have to re-edit it. But if you have everything like in a series, such as this, where it's, same lighting, same posing, same everything, then I would suggest doing that. But if you're going to more of like a dark, kind of like we were in the waterfall over there, I would not recommend it. What I would do is I would actually put the preset on, finagle it, and then sync it to other ones. But that's kind of a thing. So I'm actually going to undo that. Okay, perfect. So let's see. That's how I was. So for this one, I had actually made them 2 presets, and now I don't remember what was on there. And that's the thing. It doesn't tell you exactly what. But I think what I actually did was, with this one, I want to say I put a vignette. I think I put a vignette, and then I sharpened, and something like that. And that's the thing, like I can't remember what I did. So, and sometimes there's like history on there. We can see if there's a history. Maybe it'll tell me what I did. No, it doesn't go very far into that. It tells me that I synchronized the settings, so I was like, synchronize, and that's what I did. So, here we go. Okay, perfect. So let's go back to our thing. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do is, a lot of people are asking me how I got these clouds the color. Did I do a sky overlay or anything like that? And no, no sky overlay whatsoever. I just did the graduated filter and then brushed them off. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so with this, a lot with film, a lot of people shoot natural light, and that's what I do too. Even though I went on a kick where I was doing nothing but artificial light, I kind of wish though that I did have, I have the Yagnu little ice light, which I think is great, especially if you have weddings and you need some great window lighting. I think that's a perfect thing for people to use to recreate some lighting. But in this case, I didn't really need it. I figured that if I shoot low enough, if I don't overexpose, I'm more of an underexposer than an overexposer. And if anybody's heard of Danny Diamond, he's a great photographer. You should go check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Danny Diamond shoots specifically underexposed. So the reason behind that is so he makes sure he does not lose any of the highlights. And as you can tell, I lost a lot of the highlights because I didn't shoot underexposed enough. My subjects are in focus, but my sky was blown out. And so I'll kind of show you guys how I somewhat recovered it, but at the same time, I didn't want to recover it too much. So let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, graduated filter. And what you're going to do is you're going to start from the top and you're going to bring this bad boy down, okay? And just do it to taste. So what I did then was I decreased the exposure, okay? And I kind of brought that down. Brought that down until I kind of figured where I wanted it. So as you can tell, this kind of brought down this really cool blue type of thing, and the sun was setting right past over here, and so it was natural for this blue to kind of, pop through. That's the sky. So I really wanted to bring that out. What happens though when you use this filter is it does darken your people, but I will show you how to counteract that. So then I kind of went and I kind of increased the highlights just a little bit, because if I were to bring them down, that just looks really unnatural and I just did not like it. So I was okay with a little bit of diffused blown highlights just like that. To me, that was fine. You can mess around with having it more warm. That looks really unnatural. So just kind of take your stuff and, kind of figure out like, oh, do I want it more black? Like that looks kind of cool, but do I want it that dark? No. So maybe bring it up. Do I want more shadows? That looks kind of cool with the more shadows. It's just to taste like how you prefer, how you like it. Okay. And so the thing that I had to worry about next is I did the filter. I kind of brought the clouds out in the sky, but I'm losing my subjects in there. Like they're dark and that's not what I want. So cool thing is you can go to brush and then go down to where it says AB and then erase, and you can use your brush tool to erase that off. So pretty much like you can in Photoshop. I believe that they released this tool, or excuse me, this update not too long ago. I want to say within the last year, where you could actually brush off the filters or the radial filters and all that stuff. So really cool, good work, Lightroom. So we appreciate it. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and on my Mac I use Command plus sign, and I'm going to just kind of move over them. And what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start erasing. So make sure I've got my flow up to 100, feather. Make sure when you feather, it doesn't create such a harsh line. It just kind of, like it says, feathers out the stuff. So just be careful when you are, and I've noticed this happens in Photoshop too. Say you are erasing off of them and you get really close to the subject line. You'll get what's called a halo effect, okay? So I'm brushing, oops, got that off, that's fine, brushing, brushing, brushing. And then when you go to look at your subject, oh, you've got this huge halo line. So just be careful when you do that, when you're editing, you try not to do that. And then I'm just hitting Command Z to undo my or my brush. I was going to say breaststroke. Oh, I haven't swam in years. Okay, so I'm not going to do this too perfect because I've already done it and shipped and edited to the client, but this is just more of a quick tutorial. But another thing is you can hit where it says show selected mask overlay, and that shows you kind of where you're at. And since this is feathered, it's so nice because you can get almost to the hairline, but not quite, and so it's nice. You can still have that, because it's going to be normal for them to be a little bit dark on the edges just because that's just normal lighting. And so it makes sense to the brain. Now, if you were shooting with like a strobe or something, then they wouldn't have any of that darkness. But since it's, dark outside. So I try to get as close, but I don't want it. You can see that it's already starting to halo. So you just have to be a little bit more precise. And you can always go take down the feather, and I'll kind of show you how that works. See, it's more intense. And so probably if I was doing more, if I was trying to be more perfect, like the outlines I would try and do the feathered, but then the decreased feathered, but honestly, it's not the big deal. And then you just kind of just erase. I do find it easier with the mask overlay on, just because I can really tell what I missed, what I haven't missed, what I've done, if I went over, and just like that. So just keep erasing and erasing and erasing. And we're getting down to the end where that filter, you can see the red is pretty much gone. Pretty much gone now that we're towards the bottom. A little bit red left, and I think that's it. Okay. And now we can go, we'll go fit. Okay. So let's take a quick before and after. Okay. So what we've done so far is we've merged the two photos together. We have put on our kind of like toning and our preset, which I used the LXC, and I had made my own preset, which I had made on the original one. So this looks a little bit different, tad bit different, but you know what? That's totally fine. There's a little more pink in here. Not sure what I did to bring out those pinks. I think maybe I made it a little more blue and stuff like that. Anyway, and then we have used our graduated filter to kind of bring out the clouds, kind of get rid of those highlights. I mean, we still have them, but that's fine. And then we just brush that off our subject, okay? And so one of the last things that I did was I vignetted, put a vignette around them, just so I can make this more of the center of attention on them. So I'm going to go to where it says exposure, and then I'm going to go to where it says invert mask, okay? And then I'm going to bump up that exposure. There we go. And okay, now that makes more sense as to why I'm like, why is it not, turning pink? Because I have the vignette on them, it's making everything darker, kind of like how it was in the original one, and bringing them more out. So just kind of do it to taste, make it more natural. Perfect. So there's after. I'm going to show you before using Command Z. Command Z. Okay, just like that, okay? So remember, that was before. We take our radial filter, put it around them. You're going to right click to where it says iris enhance. And another, left click. Another thing is, depending on if you have the VSCO presets or not, if you do not, you will not have these come in your Lightroom toolbox. You will have these ones, which is standard on Lightroom, temperature, exposure, all that stuff. But you won't have these ones unless you have the VSCO presets. That's just how the cookie crumbles. So yeah, You do have these ones, exposure, all this, but beyond this line, these are all visco things that come with it. So go to exposure, invert mask, and then kind of bump it up until you kind of find out how you like it. I like that. I think it looks good. Okay, so not too far off of, the only thing is the preset is a little bit different than what I used originally, like I said. But for the most part, that's pretty much how I ended up with this image. And like I said, I brought this up into I brought it up into Photoshop to kind of tweak this and maybe did a few more things. But other than that, that's kind of how my workflow went. And it didn't take me very long at all to edit this photo, but I did have a lot of people ask me, you know, like how'd you do that? And, you know, so if you guys have any questions, please comment down below. You can like my page on Facebook, and it's just at Kayla Means Photography. You can follow me on Insta, which is just at Kayla Means Photography. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know, and hopefully this helps you out. All right, thanks guys.